The biggest wins I've had, if there's a consistent thing that I see, and it's always because there's at least one section of that parlay where there's two players on the same team that lead to a similar outcome. So I would have never initially believed that betting on sports would eventually bring me in more weekly income than my day-to-day job, and it requires like no effort. Still very weird because it doesn't feel like I'm working, but it's getting the job done. And I knew in this economy that I was gonna have to open up another stream of income, but I really wanted it to be a passive income where I could make my initial investment and see a return. I'm already a busy dude. I already use my body physically a lot. So what can I do to make money while I'm doing other things? And who would have ever thought that it would be sports betting? But this is the thing, in order to be profitable week to week, month to month, you need the right strategies, you need the right tools, you need to be betting like the 1%, because 99% of people are keeping these sports books rich and donating to them on a day-to-day basis by just guessing. But if you have the right strategies that you use often and you have the right tools, you will have an edge over everybody else. And because of the success that I've had, especially recently with baseball, I figured that this was a good time for me to share with you guys a couple of the strategies that I use, a couple of the tools that I use to help me winning on a week-to-week basis. So let's get into it. Strategy number one is to bet more long shot parlays. This is 5-leg parlays, 6-leg parlays. They don't have to be the only thing you do, but they need to be in the system of your day-to-day betting or your weekly betting because they're more profitable, okay? More risk, but more profitable. I could lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 long shot parlays in a row. But if I hit one, that one I hit, that could keep me in the green for the rest of the month. I'm in Texas, and initially I could really only bet on Prize Picks, so I grew accustomed to parlays. The problem is a lot of people are not okay with losing. There's been times where I've lost 1 day, 2 days, 3 days in a row. But then that one parlay changed the whole entire month for me. So you have to be okay with losing some of those parlays or just getting a percentage back if you're betting on a flex play or insured play. But I'm telling you, it's so much more rewarding when you hit that big parlay because it's going to take care of all those losses in just one win. Strategy number two, this one is really a game changer, and this is to combo props. So when you're building a 5-6-leg parlay, you could be dealing with so many different outcomes, right? But if you pick players on the same team, you could shrink that parlay so much more. So for example, they used to do quarterback to receiver, but then Prize Picks cut the pay. But you can do this in so many different ways, okay? In the NBA, you could do it with assists to points. You could do it with points and points. In baseball, you could look at the at-bats, you can look at the lineup and see who's batting next to each other. You can always create some sort of synchronicity so that players on the same team with an outcome you believe is going to happen. Say if you think the Nationals are going to win, maybe you take James Wood and CJ Abram and you throw them on the same parlay because in order for them to win, they're going to need production from players. It may not be those two players, but you're going to take two players from the same team and shrink that parlay so much more. And I'll tell you right now, some of the biggest wins I've had, if there's a consistent thing that I see, and it's always because there's at least one section of that parlay where there's two players on the same team that lead to a similar outcome, and it's just going to lower the risk so much more. So I do this on a day-to-day basis, and it really works. The last 3 weeks we've been able to hit a 6-leg parlay every single week, and each one of those parlays had somebody that was on the same team. Strategy number 3 is to make sure that you have a really good tool that you are using, because you need data to back the props that you're going to be choosing for that parlay. Now, a lot of the time people guess the outcomes. They see 20 points up for LeBron James. Of course, LeBron is going to get 20, okay? But every single game is different, right? Minutes are different. There's so many changes that happen, and they happen quick. Odds are changing quick. So you want to make sure that you have a tool that is going to make sure that you have a great edge when you are making these picks. There's 99% of people that are losing. In order to be in that 1%, you need an edge. You don't want to flip a coin when it comes to sports betting. You want to make sure that you have at least a 3%, 4% edge. Now, the tool that I use to make sure that I'm betting efficiently, right? I could build a 6-leg parlay in 10 minutes. This is all because of a fantasy optimizer I use, or a tool I use called OddsJam. Now, OddsJam is amazing. OddsJam is a tool that I've been using for probably the past 4 to 5 years. And it's just something that where I can open up my computer, I can go on OddsJam and it's gonna give me a bunch of data points with a bunch of different odds across all sportsbook. One thing to know, it's so important for you to grab data from more than one place, okay? And OddsJam allows you to grab data from amazing sports books that are way more sharper and know a lot more than you do. And every single pick on OddsJam, everything is already factored in. Injuries are factored in, minutes are factored in, weather is factored in. All these things are factored in when you're making these picks. So if I have a busy day, I can get on my computer for 10 to 15 minutes. I'll open up OddsJam. I'll look at the fantasy optimizer because I bet on player props, and I'll scroll through and I'll find a play that has good odds across all sports books because you need more than one data point, and then I'll use that player prop from my parlay and I'll add it on there and I'll try to combine it that way. But you need to make sure that you're using a tool that's going to give you an edge, and OddsJam has allowed me to be profitable month to month. So shout out to OddsJam for having such a great tool. It is an initial investment, but in order to make money, you have to make an investment. And at first, when I got to OddsJam, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pay this monthly, but because of the wins that I started to accumulate because of OddsJam, it's been like nothing. So you wanna make sure that you have a right tool that's going to give you as many player props with an edge so that the parlays are a lot easier for you to hit instead of just flipping a coin 50-50 and hoping for you to win a lot of money that day. It's just not gonna happen. Strategy number 4 is to make sure that you are betting in volume. All of the best bettors are betting in volume. Most of them are betting all throughout the day. They are betting more than 20 bets a day. Now, typically when I speak to somebody that just gets into sports betting or they want to bet a little bit, they'll try to throw as much money on one parlay, and they really love the parlay, they think it looks great, and they want to throw all their money on that. And that is how you lose money quickly, because things can happen out of nowhere. Somebody could get hurt, next thing you know, you lose your parlay and you're not insured on that for whatever reason. But if you spread your money out, just like in stocks, if you diversify your portfolio, you don't want to put all your eggs into one basket when it comes to this, okay? Because if this parlay loses, you lose a lot. But if you spread it out and you give yourself as much volume and you know what your betting minimums are, you know that no matter what, all I need to hit is one parlay, kind of like I said earlier, and you're still gonna be in the profit. Maybe that profit is only $30, but you're still gonna be in the profit. Make sure that if you are sports betting, you are betting in volume across different sports books, utilizing all the opportunities you can, utilizing all the discounts you can. I typically bet at least 15 parlays a day, and this is how you profit long term. And strategy number 5 is to make sure that you're accessing as much data points as possible. Now, this goes hand in hand with having a good tool. Again, the tool I use is OddsJam. It's a fantasy optimizer that grabs all of the data. It's so important that when you are picking a player prop, that you are looking at the odds for this player prop. Now, if they think, for example, LeBron is going to score 23 points on DraftKings at -130, I may go to BetMGM and they might have him scoring 23 points at -109. And I might go to FanDuel and they might have him scoring 23 points at -115. These are all different data points, okay? And I need to see as much data as possible so that I can come up with a solution. And I assume that's how scientists do it. So I need to see as many data points across all these different sports books so that I can come up with a solution. And OddsJam allows me to do that quickly. And that's why I love it so much. Because it's not enough for you to just look at one sports book and be like, okay, they think that LeBron's gonna score this 23 points at -130. That's a pretty good price, I'll take that. But it's not enough just to view them, because another sports book could have a little bit more information at that time. So however you do it, whether it's getting yourself a fantasy optimizer like OddsJam, or going across all these different websites and taking your time to do that to find these different data points, it's not enough for you to see a pick, go check the odds for that pick on one sports book, and then come up with a solution. You need as much data as possible, and you could take that with you in life. I'll tell you this much. You may ask one person something, they may tell you this, and you may go ask the second person something, and they may tell you something totally different. You're gonna need at least that third person to balance out the first two that just told you something. So data points, as many as possible before you make your player props to add them to your parlay. So if you do want a sports bet like the 1% with less risk, with as much data as possible, knowing that you're going to be in the profit week to week and month to month, OddsJam is the tool that really changed the game for me, because it consolidated everything. It made everything so much easier and a lot more efficient. Now, if you want to get a better price than me for OddsJam, there is a link in the description so that you can get OddsJam, and you actually get a discounted price to get all these data points so that you could choose these player props a lot quicker and build your parlays a lot quicker as well. The link will be in the description. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to drop a like. And if you guys want to talk more about sports betting, drop a comment in the comment section or put out any ideas that you guys may have for the next video. But I will see you guys next time. Peace.